1 in 300 people hears voices that are not there, not because something is broken, but because their brain is misfiring signals it was designed to trust. This is schizophrenia, and nearly everything you believe about it is wrong. Schizophrenia is often mistaken for something it is not. Popular movies and headlines blur the line between fact and fiction, painting stories of split personalities or sudden, unpredictable violence. But the clinical definition is clear. According to the DSM-5 and the ICD-11, schizophrenia is a psychotic disorder defined by persistent hallucinations, delusions, or disorganized speech, symptoms that must last at least 6 months, with at least 1 month of active disturbance. It does not involve multiple personalities. That is a separate diagnosis called dissociative identity disorder. The real symptoms of schizophrenia are rooted in how the brain processes reality, hearing voices that are not there, believing things that defy evidence, or struggling to organize thoughts. These experiences often lead to social withdrawal and emotional flatness, not the dramatic outbursts seen on screen. Stigma thrives on these myths, making it harder for people to seek help. Arya knows this firsthand. Her story begins not with violence or chaos, but with a single, unexplained voice in the dark. Arya's first voice arrived without warning, a single phrase, sharp and unfamiliar, slicing through the quiet of her bedroom at night. No one else heard it, but to her, the sound was as real as any spoken word. Neuroscientists have traced these moments to a surge of activity in the brain's auditory cortex, especially in the superior temporal gyrus. fMRI scans of people hearing voices show this region firing, as if an actual sound had entered the room. But there is more beneath the surface. In most brains, a built-in system called corollary discharge tags our inner speech as self-generated, letting us know when a thought is just a thought. For Arya, this mechanism faltered. Her brain misfiled her own silent words as something external, stripping away the boundary between inner voice and outside world. At the same time, a spike in dopamine, nature's signal for importance, flooded her circuits, making the voice feel urgent and impossible to ignore. This is not imagination. It is the collision of neural misfires and chemical surges, turning the ordinary into the uncanny. The first voice marks a break in perception, not in character, a moment when the brain's reality testing slips and the world grows suddenly strange. The brain's reality check system is built on a delicate circuit linking the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the temporal lobes, and the hippocampus. In healthy brains, this loop acts like an internal fact-checker, weighing new experiences against memory and logic. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex sits at the center of this network. It is responsible for executive control, deciding what is real, what is imagined, and what should be dismissed. In schizophrenia, the connections between these regions are weakened. Functional MRI scans reveal reduced synchrony, and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex struggles to communicate with the temporal cortex and hippocampus. This breakdown makes it nearly impossible to update beliefs when faced with conflicting evidence. For Arya, each time the voice returned, her brain failed to flag it as a false alarm. Memories, perceptions, and imagination began to blur together. Even when reality contradicted her experience, the faulty circuitry locked her into her own version of events. The world became a puzzle with missing pieces, and the usual tools for testing reality simply did not work. 1 in 300. That number can sound distant, like a statistic from a textbook, but it means that in a crowded high school or a packed lecture hall, someone is quietly living with schizophrenia. The odds are real, and so are the early signs. Most cases begin in late adolescence or early adulthood, ages 17 to 25, when the brain's circuits are still maturing. For Arya, the changes were subtle at first. Friends noticed she stopped responding to texts, skipped group projects, and sat alone at lunch. These aren't just quirks. Unexplained social withdrawal, a sudden drop in grades or work performance, trouble focusing, and sleep problems can all be early warning signs. Sometimes there are fleeting moments when reality seems to bend, a faint voice, a shadow of suspicion, or a feeling of being watched. Alone, each sign might seem harmless, but when they cluster together, the risk grows. Studies show that about 1 in 4 people with these early symptoms will develop a psychotic disorder within a few years. Recognizing the pattern matters. Early detection doesn't just change the odds, it opens the door to support and recovery long before the illness takes hold. Treatment for schizophrenia has moved far beyond the old image of locked wards and endless pills. Today, evidence-based care is built around a toolkit that combines medication, therapy, and social support. Antipsychotic drugs remain central. Most target dopamine D2 receptors, dialing down the brain's false signals. Long-acting injectable versions help prevent relapse for people who struggle with daily pills. For people who do not respond to standard medications, clozapine offers hope, though it requires careful blood monitoring. But medicine alone is not enough. Cognitive behavioral therapy for psychosis helps people challenge distressing beliefs, and structured family sessions teach loved ones how to support recovery. Peer support workers, people who have walked this path themselves, offer connection and guidance. This integrated approach does not just treat symptoms, it helps people rebuild their lives, one step at a time. Aria's life didn't stop with her diagnosis. She found her footing again through a mix of medication, therapy, and the steady encouragement of peers who had faced the same shadows. Early intervention programs now show that people who get help quickly have a 42% higher chance of remission. Recovery isn't just possible, it's happening every day. Support groups, crisis lines, and community resources offer lifelines. For Aria, connection brought her back to school, work, and friendships. The path forward is real, and no one has to walk it alone. Science cuts through myth, revealing schizophrenia as biology, not a broken person. Recovery is possible. Every mind deserves dignity, and support can change a life. Thanks for watching.